I'm Paul Hoffschmidt, the founder and CEO of Alpha Sophia, and today I'm joined by Monica Wellejus from Ossiform. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Paul. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, great to have you on the pod. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, so I'm part of Ossiform, a pioneering bone printing company based in Denmark. I've been part of the company for the past 5 years and been involved in everything related to commercialization of our products, go-to-market planning and the like. Yeah.
Yeah, great to have you here today. And we've met for the first time in person a few weeks ago at LSI in Dana Point, where you also gave a really inspiring talk about your technology, and that started the conversation we are having today. And we would love to learn a little bit more about Ossiform's technology. So when I dived deeper into your company, your main slogan is "We print bone." So could you explain a little bit to the audience, or maybe even to a layperson, what that means and what the impact of your technology is?
Yeah, of course. We print bone. Our trademark is typically a very good conversation starter. But what it is we do at Ossiform is we 3D print bone graft substitutes that are very similar to natural bone in terms of both material and structure. And we do that in order to advance bone healing outcomes within orthopedic surgery and spine. So what we want to do is to provide more size flexibility as well to the bone graft substitutes that we see in the market today, and also reduce surgeons' reliance on metal by providing a more natural but very reliable solution. Yeah.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Could you maybe elaborate a little bit more on the uniqueness of your solution now entering the market in the next coming periods?
Sure. So we've taken the well-known ceramic material called beta tricalcium phosphate, which is a material that is very close to what is naturally found in human bones, and we developed a 3D printing technique to give it shape and structure. The material has been used clinically for the past 40 years, but primarily in non-structural forms like paste, but also molded blocks. It's known to carry minimal risk of complications, and our bodies recognize it as bone, and therefore it naturally remodels into natural bone after implantation. So what we specialize in at Ossiform is to give it structure in a way that we tailor a mix of porous and more dense components to match the specific demands of diversified applications. So we can control the resorption rate, the biomechanical properties, and the rate of bone ingrowth into our implants in order to ensure that they remain structurally stable throughout the healing process. And this is quite unique because current ceramic products are known to degrade too fast, fracture, and that makes them highly unreliable. And therefore, surgeons do rely heavily on metal. And while a lot of progress has happened to achieve better bone fusion into porous metal, there are still some risks associated with using metal, and it's not optimal. For an example, if you're operating a child or any patient where there's a risk of infection and you need to take out the metal again. So here we are kind of combining the best of both worlds by achieving an ideal trade-off between the structure that surgeons need and the more natural material that facilitates the natural forming of new bone.
Yeah, understood. And so this is basically a material technology now applied to the medical sector, to surgeries in ortho and spine. And I can imagine there's a wide range of potential application fields in the future within ortho and spine. But have you focused now on certain procedures for the start, or are you tackling the whole realm right from the start?
Yes, we are focusing on extremity surgery in general in the first stage, and namely on foot and ankle surgery in the first stage, and in the next stage we'll develop implants for spine surgery. initially for cervical spine, but we are starting in the extremities space where we are going to provide a wedge that is designed to mimic natural bone with this cortical part and the more porous inner for foot and ankle surgery. And the FDA is currently reviewing our application, and we anticipate getting to market in the US later this year.
Oh, that's really exciting. So it's really the market launch is basically down the road, and you're now probably ramping up all your commercial activities you are leading at Ossiform towards that goal for the company. So let's maybe go, before we dive into that a bit later in our chat today, let's maybe take a step back and look at Ossiform's founding story. So how did the company get started?
Yeah, so Ossiform is a spin-out from the University of Southern Denmark, and our founders started working on the technology back in 2015. The two of them were engineering students, medical engineering students at the University of Southern Denmark, and the third founder was their supervisor at the time, PhD in molecular biology and nanoscience. So they started investigating a new solution for replacing destroyed or surgically removed bone that could allow surgeons to reconstruct the patient's tissue to its former shape, but also quality and composition. And now, as you previously mentioned, the material is really a focus area for us in the company, but the technology that they developed back then and has been continuing to developing these past years is based on the 3D printing extrusion of this material. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you've already come a long way from 2015 to your current stage with FDA approval around the corner. And you've also joined that path for already a few years. So how has your role changed over the years, especially in a MedTech company where the life cycle is so divided between pre-market and then post-market periods in the journey of a company like this? Yeah,
it's changed a lot. So the founders, they actually founded the company in 2018. Mm-hmm. And the first year, it was just our founders working on securing the first financing round. And when they achieved that, they hired our CEO, Thea Wulf-Olesen, in March of 2019, and the month after they hired me. That's 5 years ago this month.
So you've been right there from the beginning.
Yeah. It feels like it, and for a while there, we were 5 people working in the company, and I was working on building the brand and our digital presence, the entire website, and getting to know the market really well, laying the foundation for our go-to-market plans and sales and marketing processes. And then over the years, I've continuously worked on building the company's network, and today I'm spending a lot of time doing stakeholder management, building our advisory boards, working with our advisory boards, and not least, I have an awesome sales and marketing team today to help me. And what we actually did at Ossiform, because we know that it takes a lot of time and resources to get to market with a medical device, we launched a research line of products that is also made from the same 3D printing technology and material. So we print scaffolds that are designed to mimic bone again, but it's for preclinical research use only. And we are providing those scaffolds for researchers all over the world. And through that method, we have established collaborations with research institutions in various countries, and they've tested our material in different preclinical setups, and it's been really beneficial for us.
Okay, med device folks, picture this. What if you could open up a CRM today and it already contained information for every potential lead for you in the country? And You could narrow down those leads further by looking at billing, location, seniority, so much more. Alpha Sophia is the strategy tool that we wish we had had when we were commercializing a medical device in the US market. But there's nothing stopping you. So visit alphasophia.com and learn more.
So that gave you a much faster feedback loop than through just the usual paths, right? Where you get feedback from application at an earlier stage and could loop that back into your R&D processes.
Exactly, yeah. And we've been able to establish relations and build sales and marketing processes and expertise. Because, as a startup, there are a lot of processes that you have to help build from scratch. Like, how do you create invoices and make sure that this entire workflow just works smoothly? And this has been a good way for us to build that expertise before we go to market with the medical devices.
Yeah, and then probably also just already building networks with key opinion leaders in the field, which you then can later use as references for further rollouts in the commercial period, I assume.
Yeah. Of course, many of the people that we are working with on our research line, it's both basic scientists and clinical scientists, but mainly within bone and cancer research. So that's really exciting. And on the other hand, we've also done a lot of work building relations to physicians to build our clinical advisory boards regarding our medical devices.
Really interesting. And you're a Danish company, but operating in Europe, but also now going to the US market. Have you built those relations in that early phase mainly in Europe or also already abroad?
Yeah, so in the very beginning, it was mainly Danish physicians and European physicians that we were in discussions with, but quite quickly we determined that the US is our target market. It's the first market that we'll enter. Not that Europe is not interesting for us, but that will be further out in the future. So when we made that decision, we also made the decision that we need some skilled US physicians on board. Clinical advisors are so important because you need to understand their workflow and their needs in order to develop products that they will actually adopt and use in the clinic. And there is some variation between how workflows and everything function in Europe and in the US. So we've been attending medical meetings in the US and drawn on our network to find clinical advisors to work with. And today we are in the fortunate situation that we have a really good clinical advisory board representing different areas of medical specialties like spine, trauma, sports medicine. So that's really been crucial for us.
Yeah, really interesting. And especially the move that you're actually starting in the US market with commercialization as a European company is probably also interesting for other MedTech startups from Europe in a similar position right now who are thinking where to start first. And your ability that you've already been able to recruit clinical advisory boards with experts in the field really proves that this is indeed really possible to do that step. Are there any other strategies you're now employing in the month ahead of your market start to find those crucial early adopters in your field to be surgeons using your technology? Is there anything you're doing at the moment?
Two things. First of all, I think the importance of having a very strong, clear and concise value proposition and communication in general, communication and data that resonates with your target audience is the foundation that you need before even starting to reach out. So it's a difficult discipline to be very concise, but it's really worth it to do the work that it takes to make sure your communication reaches that next level where it really resonates. And then when you're ready to reach out and ask these physicians for a meeting, so how do you reach them? Previously, it has been challenging for us, because how do you get in touch with them? As I mentioned, we've been attending medical meetings in the US and the like, but since we adopted the Alpha Sophia software quite recently, it's made my life a lot easier.
Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, it's been very helpful, because so we started using it 2-3 months ago, and I've been able to identify the right surgeons that we need to talk with, depending on, it can be their ties with industry, it could be their procedure volumes. I think this is maybe the function that I use the most and really, really like, that you draw data from the reimbursement system so that we can find the surgeons that actually perform the procedures most frequently that we are looking towards initially.
Yeah, like for example, the wedges you're now planning to launch to market first in the foot and ankle sub-market. And also I can imagine, a little bit where what you were mentioning earlier, attending meetings also joins forces with an intelligence solution like that. When we met at LSI, you gave a really great talk at LSI about Ossiform's product and communicated that to the audience, and then later on you posted that on LinkedIn, and that really gained a lot of traction. I can imagine then also using an intelligence platform like our system, Alpha Sophia, or like any other system in the market like this, to find target physicians who are active on social media, actively connecting with them, and then having a chance for content like this you're producing at a live event to also reach them online and have further marketing touch points with them, can really yield results in terms of brand, in terms of solution recognition down the road with your target audience.
Yeah, 100%. And now you mentioned target audience, and I think that's so important, that you know who your target audience is and where to reach them. That's another benefit of your software. I believe that you can find a lot of information to be able to do your homework, know something about them before you reach out, and also contact information so that you know how to get in touch with them. That can be quite tricky otherwise. So I think it's a really powerful tool to do both your research on your target audience and the market in general, because if you aggregate this data that you are drawing from like billing and the procedure volumes, and you can see how is the market evolving. That's really powerful.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that shout out. Maybe looking back at your journey from Ossiform and other MedTech innovators, maybe at an earlier stage listening to us today, what are some lessons you've learned or advice you would give to a MedTech founder or early stage employee of a MedTech company from Europe, but maybe also from the US, for those first initial years? You've now been with Ossiform for 5 years, I think. And you've probably learned a lot. What are like the key learnings where you say that's something for anyone to put in their notepad to remember?
Yeah, so as I briefly touched upon, things can progress really fast when you get the right advisors on board. So I'll definitely advise people to get some really good advisors on board and work closely with surgeons or physicians very early in the process, and continue asking questions so that you can uncover not only what properties would they like to see in your product, but also what are potential other factors that may hinder the surgeon's willingness or opportunity to adopt your product a bit further out in the future. So from a commercialization standpoint, I've been thinking about, market launch since I joined the company 5 years ago. But yeah, I think it's really important to consider these things like the reimbursement landscape, considering the price of current products that the surgeon is using, and what kind of data would the surgeon need to see and ask about, but not only the surgeon, there are also other decision makers to consider.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned, just be prepared for these questions and think these potential objections and questions into your strategy very early so that you generate the data that will be needed a bit further out.
Yeah, I think what really impresses me about what you were just saying and how you've built the commercial side at Ossiform, from all our discussions we are having, it always seems like you're always thinking from the ultimate customer, from the surgeon and then patient backwards. And your whole strategy seems to be defined from that input, ranging from what are the processes the surgeons need to actually adopt it, and not only the pure technology. What's the data, as you were just mentioning, the surgeon needs to see to buy in and take the risk of working with you as a company and presenting that solution to their patients. So that I think that's insanely valuable feedback for anyone, to not just be into their lab and doing and working on their own, but always getting the feedback early and adapting to that feedback in the whole development, but then also commercialization path. That's, I think, really impressive and a good note for anyone in that industry. Maybe a different question. As I see you sitting there in your meeting room with your Ossiform logo in the background, I think that logo, when I first visited your website, already intrigued me. Is there any background to that logo, what it means in connection to your technology, or?
Yeah, so our logo with the bubbles behind me, or the circles, this logo or a variation of it has been part of our company since the beginning. It was our founders that formed it, and it actually symbolizes the ceramic particles, the ceramic powder particles that our technology is based off. So because it all comes down to, it all started with this material, the beta tricalcium phosphate powder particles.
Yeah,
they
really
mix
cool
it. Yeah.
It really, one can really see that material technology is really at the core of your company identity, and then you're developing all sorts of applications out of there, out of that foundation, which was laid in the research lab a few years ago. That's really interesting. One last closing question towards you. So what's up next for Ossiform in the next couple of months, but years? What's on your mind when you think about the next development steps ahead?
Yeah, so it's a very exciting time at Ossiform right now, because the FDA is currently reviewing our application. So we are anticipating FDA approval this year, and then we are poised to initiate our first clinical study. Since we've pursued a 510(k) pathway, we haven't done clinical studies until now, but we will do a post-market study as part of our sales and marketing activities to help support adoption after the FDA clearance. In addition to that, and a major reason why we were at LSI, obviously, is because we're also preparing for our next funding round. So we are looking to raise around $22 million. And this money will help us both establish Ossiform on US grounds and get to market with the next stage of P3D bone implants for the cervical spine, among other things. Yeah,
that sounds really interesting, and fingers crossed for all those three things: FDA approval, the post-market clinical study, and your market launch. So Monica, it was a pleasure talking with you today. Thanks for joining us on the pod, and looking forward to having you back on at some point when the next milestones ahead realize. And we are happy to support you on that journey.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.